Porsha, you filing for divorce and you barely been with that man for a year, Porsha. Who told you to get with that man, Porsha?
What is this?
Okay, you know what? Just light it. Then we're gonna test to see which one is.
Right now, the story surrounding Porsha Williams feels less like routine celebrity gossip and more like a slow-building reckoning between her past and the image she's been carefully reshaping. What started as a public narrative of growth and self-discovery has, in recent weeks, taken a much heavier turn. Controversial blogger Tasha K has reignited long-standing rumors many believed were laid to rest, this time framing them as part of a deeper, ongoing pattern. According to these claims, Porsha has allegedly been living a double life that clashes sharply with the persona she's presented on screen, suggestions of private relationships, guarded personal struggles, and years of carefully managed secrecy. These aren't coming from anonymous message boards, but from familiar names and timelines that longtime fans recognize. The timing is what makes it especially striking, just as Porsha attempts to reintroduce herself to Bravo audiences as healed, evolved, and finally at peace. The past is resurfacing with uncomfortable persistence, forcing viewers to question what's real, what's performative, and what may still be unresolved.
Y'all don't give Porsha no grace, but when we met Porsha on Real Housewives of Atlanta, she was young and she was married. It wasn't a good situation at all, but she was young and she was married. And since then, Porsha has been serious in monogamy with, like, it's not like we've seen Porsha out here just dating a bunch of random people. Every time we've seen her pop out with someone, it's been to the point where it's serious.
The timing couldn't be more intense. Just days before the allegations flared back into public view, Porsha Williams filed for divorce from Simon Guobadia in Atlanta, abruptly ending a 15-month marriage that had already been shadowed by controversy. Court records confirmed the split in late February, coming less than a week after fresh headlines revisited Simon's alleged history of fraud and ongoing residency issues. Porsha's team quickly pushed the narrative that the separation was unrelated, but industry insiders aren't convinced. Many note that the filing happened precisely as she was finalizing negotiations for her high-profile return to the Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 16, a comeback that offers both a career reset and intense scrutiny. When reputation, contracts, and future storylines are at stake, silence can become a calculated move, and so far, Porsha has chosen not to engage. Meanwhile, online audiences have been dissecting every pause, expression, and carefully worded answer in her recent interviews, searching for cracks in the polished calm she's presenting.
With this challenge, because people were like, well, why do you want to challenge? Like, what would that do? Because the judge made it really clear. What they're hoping to do is get this in front of another judge. And if they get this in front of another judge, then they might have the chance where, like, he might not be responsible for all the things that we talked about.
She told audiences she was focusing on healing, on rediscovering herself after heartbreak, learning to sit with loneliness until she felt whole again. Clips of her choking up mid-sentence spread quickly online, praised as raw honesty and emotional courage. But as Tasha K's claims began gaining traction, that same footage started to read differently to some viewers. Insiders now allege that Porsha's vulnerability may have been less about emotional release and more about getting ahead of a story before it could take control of her. One production source, speaking off the record, suggested her confessional tone felt unusually polished, almost like an answer to questions no one had publicly asked yet. And those questions, critics argue, stretch back years. Longtime fans remember Porsha's rise in 2012 as a preacher's granddaughter navigating divorce, faith, and public scrutiny. They also remember the old sermon clips resurfacing this month, showing her once condemning identities she now says she's exploring. That contradiction has become the heart of the backlash. Supporters see evolution and unlearning. Critics see reinvention built on selective memory. Either way, the timing is impossible to ignore. When a reality star facing renewed legal and marital headlines pivots from romance to self-acceptance, curiosity hardens into suspicion. And with Simon Guobadia's controversial history lingering in the background, the questions only grow louder.
Because according to these court documents, Simon Guobadia applied for U.S. citizenship and was denied due to his criminal past.
Federal court records in Atlanta show that a man bearing Simon Guobadia's full name has faced repeated denials of U.S. citizenship tied to past fraud convictions and unauthorized reentries dating back to the 1980s. Those filings were widely reported by outlets, including the Jasmine brand, and People throughout 2022 and 2023. When the most recent denial was reaffirmed in January of this year, Simon appeared unbothered, posting photos of himself smoking a cigar with the caption, "E-Day Come," loosely translated as "I'm doing well." To many, it It read as defiance rather than reassurance. Days later, Porsha Williams made headlines of her own, filing to formally end the marriage. Insiders are divided on what that timing really means. Some believe the divorce was strategic, planned in advance to separate her brand from looming legal scrutiny before cameras began rolling again. Others say the breakdown was deeply personal, sparked by information that has yet to become public. Adding fuel to both theories is Tasha K's reentry into the narrative. Her claims go beyond infidelity, alleging that people close to Porsha raised concerns years ago about private health matters. Concerns, she says, were downplayed to preserve a carefully curated public image.
You older? I'm not saying you got ED or anything, but it's not working like it was working in his 20s. So it ain't like she got to hop on it every day. Maybe twice a month at that. This man just likes to work, travel, and have a companion. All Porsha was a companion to a scammer that had everything under control, if he was a scammer.
No documents have been presented, but the insinuations alone have pushed the conversation into far darker territory. According to one media analyst, that shift from messy gossip to potential liability is what makes this situation uniquely volatile. If even small parts of the claims prove credible, the fallout could extend well beyond reality TV drama. Complicating matters further is the financial reality behind the scenes. Porsha's new NBC Universal deal reportedly spans both unscripted and scripted projects, elevating her from reality star to corporate asset. In that context, every headline now carries real contractual and reputational consequences.
Who said that? Porsha Williams coming back to Real Housewives of Atlanta? That's false. But Porsha Guobadia is in the building.
Networks have a long history of stepping back when controversy edges into federal territory, and Simon Guobadia's alleged immigration issues fall squarely in that lane. Yet, as of this week, neither Bravo nor NBC Universal has issued anything beyond routine promotional material for the upcoming season. That restraint hasn't gone unnoticed. Industry observers point out that when executives believe a scandal is baseless, they often move quickly to distance themselves. Prolonged silence, by contrast, can signal caution and preparation. At the same time, fans have begun revisiting old episodes of The Real Housewives of Atlanta with fresh scrutiny. Moments once brushed off as playful banter or harmless flirtation are now being re-examined for possible subtext. Hearty scenes, cast trips, and late-night confessions are being replayed as viewers search for patterns that might support current speculation. Unverified insider accounts claim that certain off-camera discussions about blurred boundaries were quietly edited out, while others allege crew members were discouraged from commenting publicly on what they observed. None of this has been substantiated, but the repetition of similar claims has added weight to the narrative online. What's driving the most intense debate isn't just the idea of a hidden personal life, but whether secrecy, if it existed, extended into areas that could carry ethical or legal implications. That suggestion has pushed the conversation into territory few want to address directly. Entertainment lawyers note that strict non-disclosure clauses often limit what cast and crew can say, especially if private matters intersect with potential liability. Even without verified evidence, the optics are damaging. When a public figure once associated with moral certainty faces allegations of concealed misconduct, prolonged silence can take on its own meaning, fairly or not, fueling speculation in the absence of clear answers.
I personally feel like even if Porsha didn't have the cameras, I think she gives me the type that, she's going to do all the things she wants to do in her life until she decides what she wants to do. Whether it is be with a woman for the rest of her life, a man for the rest of her life. She wants to try it all to figure it out.
Every day brings new fragments into the mix. Screenshots without timestamps, anonymous DMs, and old interview clips reposted with fresh captions. Most of it may amount to nothing, but in the court of public perception, repetition often reads as credibility. As the cycle continues, curiosity has given way to questions of accountability. Who knew what and when? Were executives warned? Were storylines altered to protect brand value? Those questions now dominate feeds and private chats. As of tonight, there's still no official denial from Porsha or her team, and no legal response aimed at shutting the claims down.
Bared the brunt of all of the tough social media, bashing, all of that. And it's okay because I'm a grown woman, I make my choices.
So far, there's been nothing but silence, interrupted only by carefully curated social media posts featuring travel snapshots, family moments, and reflective spiritual quotes. For someone who built much of her public identity on openness and emotional transparency, that quiet feels conspicuous. As online tension continues to build, many now believe this isn't the climax of the story, but the pause before something far bigger breaks. Reality television has followed this pattern before. before. Image first, exposure second, fallout third. Each stage leaves less room to maneuver. Behind the scenes, the industry is paying close attention. Insiders quietly speculate about possible edits to the upcoming season, even discussions around delaying episodes until the controversy cools. Some claim footage already exists that could challenge Porsha's recent narrative. Others argue the network will prioritize protecting its investment at all costs. Either way, the atmosphere feels charged and unresolved.
I have 5 kids. I obviously have been married, a few times. This is going to be my 4th marriage.
Because when financial interests, personal secrets, and unresolved legal questions collide in public view, silence eventually becomes too costly to maintain. As the pressure builds, the question isn't whether Porsha Williams will speak, but which version of her will emerge. The woman publicly rebuilding her life, or the one fighting to keep control as competing narratives close in. Behind the quiet, the machinery of reality television keeps moving. That industry has always thrived on blurred lines. What's authentic, what's orchestrated, and what's edited to suggest redemption at precisely the right moment. With Porsha, the timing feels impossible to dismiss. Her divorce filing lands just days before her official return to Bravo, while renewed attention on her husband's immigration history reaches national outlets. Coincidence or choreography, the overlap has made the silence louder than any statement.
You didn't do anything wrong. He just was the wrong damn one. You're right.
That same week, she's promising fans complete transparency. The network responds with a carefully worded statement praising her vulnerability without a single reference to the legal headlines or the online firestorm circling her name. The pattern is hard to miss. When personal chaos collides with corporate opportunity, cameras don't turn away, they recalibrate. Chaos becomes content. Behind the scenes, insiders say production meetings shifted almost immediately after the divorce news broke. One former crew member claims producers were told to lean into authenticity while steering clear of anything that could complicate active legal issues. It's a familiar balancing act. Film everything now, decide later what the audience is permitted to see.
My relationship with Porsha started after my ex-wife and I announced that we were getting divorced.
The franchise built its reputation on raw, unfiltered conflict, yet now it appears to be carefully editing around federal filings, visa denials, and allegations of deception. That isn't reality, it's narrative engineering. We've seen Bravo manage cast meltdowns before, but this moment feels fundamentally different. There are too many moving parts and too many external players involved, armed with attorneys instead of glam squads. Bravo's silence has a deliberate cadence. Executives understand that controversy drives ratings, but they also know federal matters aren't storylines you can smooth over in post-production. Once Simon Guobadia's alleged history resurfaced, fraud charges dating back to the late 1980s, deportation orders, repeated citizenship denials, the tone shifted dramatically. What once read as a messy, impulsive romance now carries the weight of potential legal exposure if authorities determine he entered or remained in the U.S. Under false pretenses, any spousal benefits tied to that marriage could come under scrutiny, and even if indirectly, Porsha's name could still surface in legal records by association alone.
I continue to attract the wrong women. I try to rescue women. I pick the women who need me the most.
And that's where corporate risk truly enters the picture. A network can survive scandal. It often profits from it, but subpoenas are another matter entirely. Insiders suggest Bravo's legal department has quietly tightened non-disclosure agreements, reinforcing harsher penalties for anyone leaking production details. One former cast attorney claims newer contracts now explicitly reference pending investigations and outside litigation. The timing hasn't gone unnoticed, aligning closely with when Simon Guobadia's immigration issues gained wider attention. Some believe this is preemptive insulation, a way for the network to later claim it was kept in the dark if complications surface mid-season. But in entertainment, ignorance is fragile. Editors, assistants, stylists, people rotate in and out, and stories rarely stay contained. The financial stakes only heighten the tension. Porsha Williams' reported deal with NBC Universal extends beyond reality TV into scripted projects, endorsements, and cross-platform appearances. One media strategist described it less as casting and more as a long-term corporate investment. And investments depend on stability. If allegations migrate from social media into mainstream scrutiny, advertisers may quietly pull back. That's the domino effect the industry fears most. The moment controversy shifts from buzz to liability, once sponsors hesitate, networks recalibrate fast. And in that recalibration, personal finances can become collateral damage.
So Porsha, I told y'all Porsha couldn't afford that house. I told y'all Porsha's salary wasn't making it do what it do. I have friends that have ridden past that house on Paces Ferry and they say it is unkept, okay? And it's mighty funny after I got this report back, she puts out a video trying to make light of the situation that you demanded to keep a $12 million house that you could not afford that was on your husband's salary. However he got that salary.
Divorce filings don't just end relationships, they open books. Full asset disclosures are standard, and if Simon Guobadia's alleged financial issues extend into shared accounts or joint ventures, Porsha Williams could find herself answering difficult questions under oath. That reality likely explains why every statement from her camp feels meticulously engineered, emotionally gentle, legally precise, and carefully non-committal. Healing has become the perfect word, broad enough to soothe fans, vague enough to avoid specifics. But this isn't only about attorneys and paperwork. Within the cast, tension is reportedly growing. Several housewives have long, complicated histories with Porsha, and insiders claim more than one has already been approached for off-camera interviews. A few have hinted that the unfolding situation could reshape the coming season entirely. In reality TV terms, that's a warning. Cooperation is optional, but the storyline is not. Once cameras roll and footage exists, control shifts. In the editing room, personal truth becomes narrative property. There's also a quieter strategy playing out. Entertainment reporters have noticed identical phrases. Porsha's journey, reclaiming her peace, appearing across unrelated blogs and platforms. That kind of repetition suggests coordinated PR, an effort to steer the conversation away from scandal and toward self-empowerment. It's a familiar tactic, and it works until it doesn't. Lately, each attempt to reset the narrative has been met with another allegation, another resurfaced clip, another question. As soon as one fire dies down, another ignites, forcing her team into constant damage control. In that environment, stability becomes harder to sell than redemption.
Thought that another married man was going to marry her. Said Porsha let her around here trying to clean, looking like she can't even clean her properly.
Even inside Bravo, there's reportedly disagreement over how to move forward. Some insiders argue that controversy is the lifeblood of the franchise and that chaos naturally boosts viewership. Others are far more cautious, warning that this situation drifts into territory that reality television isn't built to handle. Federal filings, health-related insinuations, and alleged non-disclosures aren't typical housewives drama. They carry real-world consequences. One former producer summed it up bluntly: "You can film heartbreak, not court records." That's the tightrope the network is now walking. How to keep ratings high without inviting legal exposure. Then there's the question of who benefits from the ongoing silence. Several media analysts suggest it's not avoidance, but strategy. By staying quiet, Porsha minimizes risk, the network shields a valuable investment, and gossip outlets continue to feed speculation without resistance. For now, the pause works for everyone involved. But silence isn't sustainable. Each unanswered question adds pressure. Each unresolved claim gains momentum. Eventually, something breaks, whether it's a leak, a lawsuit, or a disclosure that forces the story into an entirely new phase.
It wasn't on your salary. You weren't even working, so they didn't even consider you. But he did put you on the deed just because you were the wife. And all you said was he could be scamming, he could be scamming. And I'm like, well, why would you want to live in a scammer's house? Why would you want to live off of the scammer's money? What if they come and take the house back if he was quote unquote scamming? But it's hard to buy a $12 million house scamming. There's a lot of paperwork you got to go through to get this type of house.
What's most fascinating is that the very system that built Porsha's fame may now be straining under its own weight. For years, the formula worked. Controlled chaos, revealed just enough to intrigue, concealed just enough to protect. But that formula is faltering. Today's audiences don't simply consume the edit, they interrogate it. Viewers archive live streams, compare sound bites, and construct their own timelines in real time. The illusion of narrative control is evaporating, and networks are learning that managing scandal live is far harder than scripting drama after the fact. The machinery that once thrived on controversy now risks choking on it. So where does this go next? If Simon's legal situation escalates, if the alleged health concerns gain traction, or if footage emerges that contradicts the official storyline, the narrative could collapse entirely. And if that happens while Bravo cameras are still rolling, it won't just be another reality TV scandal. It becomes a credibility crisis for a franchise built on blurred lines between truth and performance. Because when everyone involved has something to protect, talent, producers, executives, no one truly controls the ending. What we're witnessing isn't just a celebrity at a crossroads. It's the architecture of modern reality television struggling to contain the very chaos it learned to monetize. The only real question left is who moves first. The lawyers trying to keep this buried, the producers tempted to turn it into must-see television, or the insiders willing to light the match for attention and clicks. So what do you think? Does Porsha reclaim her narrative, or has the machine already decided it for her? Let us know your take, because this story is far from finished. Until next time, stay curious, stay watching, and remember, in Hollywood, every silence hides a sound waiting to be heard.